Just in time for the 2020 election, a little Democratic rebranding. I'm Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle now. And Bill, there are some $60 million has already been put into an effort by some deep pockets progressives and liberals behind an organization called Future Majority. And the purpose of Future Majority is to serve as kind of a consultancy to help Democrats, especially in Midwestern states, or the Democratic Party in Midwestern states, to reclaim values-laden terms like freedom and opportunity ahead of this 2020 election. A quote here from one of the people involved in this Future Majority effort. It's no great secret that the presidential race will be won or lost in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio. If we can win back the narrative that the word Democrat equals people who are fighting for folks who work hard every day, we can continue to win elections. If Democrats get defined as being about socialism and these other words people can hear about out of Washington, then I worry. Bill, should he be worried?
Yeah, he should be very worried. At first, when you were setting up the question, my first thought was, well, there goes some great words we won't be able to use anymore, like freedom and, liberty, because the Democratic Party is going to co-opt those words the way they did with liberal and make it into their own. And then freedom will mean compulsory single-payer health care, and liberty will mean compulsory public school education.
I've noticed that you have not been too gay about that, actually.
Funny you mention that.
That's not been a happy thing for you.
Funny you mention that, because I was actually going to say that the word gay and queer both, if you take away the pejorative use of it, were both just terrific words that really don't have any other. There's really nothing that matches what both of those words meant before they were TM'd for political reasons. But yes, that thought had crossed my mind.
So do you think that this is something where it's just a couple of consultants that have pulled together a business and convinced some deep pockets people, like apparently one of the sons of Charlie Munger from the Berkshire Hathaway company, and somebody named Dan Tierney, who's a part of a high-speed trading company called GetGo, and another guy who's a president and CEO of Amalgamated Bank. Mostly little guys who are for the people.
Homespun guys, yeah, working their little mom-and-pop media outlets on Main Street.
So is this just, kind of a press release coming out of a new consultancy? Or do you think the Democrats really have a problem on their hand when somebody needs to spend $60 million to get people to believe that the Democrats are for the little guy and believe in things like freedom and opportunity?
Well, they can spend $60 million or $600 million or $6 billion. I don't think it's going to make much difference, Scott. After 2016, the question was pretty clear. Were the Democrats going to do what this guy basically says they should be doing? And he's absolutely right. This is what they should be doing. Was the election of Donald Trump going to cause them to realize that by losing Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, all of these working class areas, Rust Belt state kind of thing, that they had lost not only a voting bloc, but their identity, which is the party of the little guy standing up against the big, corporate interests? And were they going to tack back to that kind of centrist position of being about, protecting the little guy? And as it turns out, no, they hoisted full sheets and sailed as far off to the left as they could possibly go, led by, windbags like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Representative Omar and so on. So what they did was they decided to become more radical, and now they're starting to realize that their chances of recapturing this presidency are looking slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. And this is actually exceedingly good advice. And even if they decide to take it, they won't be able to pull it off, because people's memories may not extend to politics so much, but they certainly remember good times and bad times. And I don't think there's any question that the economies and the marginal voters in any of these states that they hope to win back using traditional values, TM, is going to respond nearly as well as it's responded to 4 or 5% economic growth, under 4% unemployment, and the list goes on.
When you take
a
look at what the Democrats face in 2020, despite the tailwind of a great economy and some other advantages that the Trump campaign holds, Bill, the Trump campaign last time around beat the worst Democratic candidate in memory, the most despised Democrat in memory, and they did it by essentially swinging 40,000 votes in the Rust Belt states. I don't think it would take too much, maybe not even $600 million, to swing those states back. You have no concern at all?
I categorically disagree about that. The idea that you can spend yourself into the presidency is a theory whose flaming wreckage lies there next to the Hindenburg. I mean, Hillary Clinton, forget the amount of money that Hillary Clinton actually had and that the Democratic Party actually spent, the visible money spent on the campaign. When you throw in the amount of cultural tailwind that results from having all of these movie stars, all of these news channels, having CNN handing you answers to debate questions, or at least handing you the debate questions prior to the event. When you throw in all of this stuff, her advantage was so monumental that it was actually really, I think, a complete miracle that Donald Trump won. So what's changed since then? Well, the economy's gotten much, much better, and unemployment has gotten much, much lower. And while people may not particularly like Donald Trump's style or his persona, for that matter, they're taking home more money. They're putting their kids through colleges. They're working where they weren't working before, and it's going to take an awful lot of charisma on the part of somebody who I haven't seen yet to pull this one off. And as we've said so many times on this show, Scott, the Democratic ship of the Democratic Party is squarely athwart the reef of having extremely vocal, energetic, radicalized, far left-wingers demanding that the Democratic Party do things like the Green New Deal and the horse flatulence, the cow flatulence recovery systems, and Representative Omar saying that 9/11 was some people did some things. All of these things are out there, and let's not forget this late-term abortion thing too. I mean, all Donald Trump has to do is basically find whoever the Democratic challenger is say, hey, large numbers, very vocal members of your party have said that we need to ban air travel in order to save the planet. Are you of that opinion? And he's either or she's either going to say yes or no. If he's got an ounce of sense, he won't settle for this is a complicated issue. Yes or no? Are you in favor of being able to abort a child after the baby is born? In other words, you in favor of being able to kill a newborn infant through neglect if the parent has a change of mind after birth? Yes or no? And they'll have to answer. And when they answer, they're going to lose either the sensible, sane middle of what's left of the Democratic Party, or they're going to lose the vocal, radical, enthusiasm engine on the left. Now, all of this brings up a much better question, which is the fact of whether these two parties are both obsolete or not, but that's not the issue today.
Well, earlier in your answer, you brought up the issue of money and funding, and this organization, this Future Majority organization with the $60 million in seed money, is planning to spend its money through political action committees, but it's actually organized as a 501c4 political nonprofit, what the Democrats typically refer to as a dark money organization. How do you think that this kind of effort for the people who are all about freedom and opportunity is going to play with the progressive left when these ideas are going to be advanced and this rebranding is going to be done through dark money channels?
If they have $60 million, it's my fond hope that they spend $600 million and pull it away from advertising that might actually hurt us. If the Democrats think they can reclaim the flag and freedom of speech and all the rest of that stuff, not only will the Republicans not buy it or the middle of the country not buy it, their own party won't buy it. The Democrats can't have it both ways. They can't come out in favor of free speech in America and the flag and strong defense and strong borders and this is our country, by golly, and at the same time be in favor of allowing illegal aliens to vote and all of the rest of this cavalcade of disasters that is all exclusively Democratic Party terrain. And so if I were to be afraid of anything, the thing I would be most afraid of would be that they would be spending this money in exactly the opposite direction. My worry would be that they would be spending a great deal of money on ignorant people, trying to convince them how wonderful socialism is. That worries me a lot more, because then the entire Democratic Party would at least be moving in one direction. I don't think it'd be a successful direction, but they'd be moving in one direction. They have this incredible split that, as I've said before, kind of mirrors the sort of division that the Republicans had in the 80s between the very devout Christian conservatives and the more laid back kind of libertarian conservatives. They need both halves of this coalition to win, and they're not going to get both halves. And they're not, and they've divided the coalition up so much, and it's so much driven by emotion, Scott, that if your candidate goes down, if you're a big Bernie supporter and Bernie drops out of the race, I'd be very interested to know the actual number of Bernie supporters who voted for Hillary Clinton. What percentage of total people who identified themselves as Bernie Sanders supporters actually went out and voted for Hillary Clinton? That number would be a critical piece of information for me, because that would tell me what percentage of the enthusiasm vote will get knocked off as Kamala Harris, and then maybe the last woman disappears, or the last working white male disappear, whoever. As they start to narrow this thing down, entire voting blocks are going to become alienated. And as I said so many times, I don't know a single person, and I'm in this business, and so are you. I don't know a single person, not one, who voted for Donald Trump last time and has decided now that they're not going to. I know a lot of people who voted for him reluctantly who are now going to vote for him enthusiastically, and I know a lot of people who didn't vote for him at all who are going to vote for him now. So right now, barring the appearance of the sweet meteor of death or any other catastrophe that is unforeseen, I'm feeling pretty good.
Let me give you a little sample, Bill, of what at least $60 million of dark money can buy you. This is...
Let me just guess. Does it start with a blank screen and then maybe something like from Aaron Copland?
No, this is just a memo.
No. Let me just please let me finish. And we see the fields of wheat slowly in the wind, and then there's a farmer, and he's got his son, and they're walking out to their tractor, and he's got his son on the shoulders, and then there's going to be a mom who's going to be baking an apple pie and putting it on the ledge, and it's going to say the Democrats, the Party of America.
Well, maybe when they get that fully fleshed out with the storyboards and everything, it'll look like that. But this is just from a memo that came out back in March from this Future Majority group, basically saying that there's an opportunity for the right candidate to defeat President Trump in the next election. And this is a quote here. I think this is from Politico story. The memo advised Democrats to frame government spending as, quote, investments, so voters can see that their tax money is being put to good use, end quote, and to focus on a short number of policy priorities as opposed to a laundry list that adds up to too much government spending.
What is the Democratic Party of April 30th, 2019 about, Scott?
Apparently investments and no laundry lists.
No. What? Not what they want to brand themselves as. What is the Democratic Party about as we record this episode? What is their identity? What is their plan?
Impeach Donald
what
Trump.
Is it? That's it. And that ain't going to happen, because doesn't matter how lathered up they get in the House. They can bring impeachment proceedings. I don't think that's going to happen after the failure of the Mueller report, so I think it's pretty smooth sailing. But let's just say they managed to froth enough up to be able to institute the beginning of impeachment proceedings. That vote for actual impeachment happens in the Senate. Republicans are stronger in the Senate than we were before 2016, so it ain't going to happen. So if your entire party is dedicated to one idea that's a negative idea that has no substance and which is not going to happen anyway, I'm feeling better and better by the minute.
I can see the video myself now that does start with that dark screen. It comes up on a waving field of wheat, and it says, freedom. The freedom to impeach Donald Trump. Opportunity. The opportunity to bring down Donald Trump.
That's exactly precisely correct, Scott. That's perfect. That's exactly precisely correct. And you're going to get 30% of the vote. And once again, Like the guys over at Daily Wire say, we're going to have to get special mugs so that we can drink the sweet, sweet tears of these so-called socialists and actual communists that have taken over the Democratic Party. Look, it never, ever, ever get cocky. The surest way to lose any kind of a battle is to be weak and unprepared for it. And the second surest way is to get your ass kicked, is to be sure that you can never get your ass kicked. So, don't get cocky, kid. I'm completely with that. But as things stand, the thing that makes me most confident about Donald Trump's chances right now is not so much what the left is doing, although the left is heading further and further and further out into the weeds. The thing that makes me most comfortable is hearing the large number of people who went from reluctant to enthusiastic and from no support to reluctant support. And so you throw that in with a bigger paycheck and all the rest of that stuff, and I'm feeling pretty good, despite what their branding campaign decides to do.
When I think about what our members are doing here at BillWhittle.com and stack that up against the $60 million that's coming from a handful of big bankers and in wealthy investment types, it actually gives me great encouragement.
Me too.
Small contributions from large numbers of people and growing numbers of people. Folks, you see what we're up against here. You see the kinds of battles that are being waged literally on individual words in the language to redefine them to turn the direction of the country. We are so glad that the members at BillWhittle.com have decided to put their money where their convictions are and fund this effort. If you'd like to join them, just go to BillWhittle.com and click that Become a Member link. So for Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members for making this happen.